Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique, and today I want to talk about how much is too much.
My name is Steven, and this is our video about health and fitness things. And I work for Pro Physique, and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. It has been so long. It hasn't been that long. But, man, this is a really good question. How much is too much? Because this is going to be a different answer for everybody. It's going to be a different answer for everyone's goals, and it's going to be a different answer for where everyone is at within their own personal lives. And I think that's the beauty of this question, as it can have a very different answer for very many different people, and that can still be right, and that can still be okay. But how much is too much? Oof. Well, I think how we figure out what is too much is based off of maybe a few different things. And so we can start off in terms of our personal life, our stress response, and what we can kind of manage throughout our day. So how much is too much? Well, it's probably too much if you literally have to give up work or family time or XYZ out of it to make it work. If you have kids you want to spend time with, a significant other that you want to spend time with, and you're having to be at the gym for 4 hours a day, or it's negatively impacting your work, which pays the bills, it might be too much. And that's an easy one to say, right? And it's very easy to say it on the other end of the spectrum where I don't have time because I have to do those things. I have to make sure that my bills are paid. I want to be a good parent. I want to be a good spouse. I want to be a good this or that. And I just don't have the time to do it. And so I think we kind of see both ends of the spectrum sometime where oftentimes like maybe it's just like, well, where do I fit it in my day? And maybe what we fit in our day is a 15-minute walk during our lunch break. Or, we stop by the gym for a half an hour little workout session on the way home, and that helps us to maybe decompress as well, right? So maybe that's the other end of the spectrum, but we can also see the end of the spectrum where, and I've been there, I've done that, single guy, I work all day, I go to school, I go to the gym, I come home, I go to sleep, and nothing else has happened. And if that's where you're at in life, that might be okay, but for a lot of us, we might not be able to get away with that. That might have a bigger impact on our personal relationships and some other things that maybe for some of us are just more important to us than that, right? And so we have to keep this idea of the main thing must stay the main thing. And so if fitness is the main thing and fitness is your life and that's everything to you, well then obviously what is going to be too much for you is going to be very different than what it might be too much for me, or for the mom of four, or for whoever, insert other random person. And that's okay. And it is absolutely okay to be at different places in life and have different priorities as well. There is nothing wrong with you for not wanting to spend 2 to 4 hours a day in the gym. That's okay. That's reasonable. Absolutely. Yes, of course. And some of us enjoy the gym and still don't necessarily want to be in there for 4 hours a day. Yeah, it happens. So that is okay. And so I think, when is it too much? For me, there's this huge consideration of everything else in life. And I think when it becomes more of a negative than a positive, we need to consider, is this too much? Are we doing too much? Is this worth it to me as an individual? Because you as the individual have to make that choice for yourself. What is worth it to you, what is not worth it to you, and what that means for your long term and your future and all that other kind of good stuff. And so that's probably the easiest one, right? It's like, okay, well, it's forcing me to give up other things that are important, so it's too much. I need to back this off, and maybe we change goals, maybe we change where we're at in the plan, or we change approach. Perfect, cool. The other one, I think, is when it's too much for us in our bandwidth or our stress and what we can manage. And this comes down to like time investment again, but not necessarily priority investment. Like if I have to do 4 hours a day of cardio, is that realistic in addition to lifting and all the other stuff for me, one, to be able to do, and then two, for me to like still be able to live, right? There becomes a point where if we're investing so much time, we're probably more counterproductive. And I think that gets me into the idea of the physiological stuff, because I think that part goes very hand in hand with the physiological stuff that we see. And really what this was sparked from was I got a question in the transformation challenge about like somebody that was training and they were sore for 4 to 5 days afterwards. I'm like, well, you're probably just doing too much. If you're sore for 4 to 5 days and you're going into your next workout sore, you're probably doing too much. And even though your workout time is short, it's probably too much right now. Couldn't you be able to work up to that? Yeah, absolutely. But is it too much right now? Probably, and that would be one of the ways that we would see that. And so oftentimes when we're doing too much physical activity, we're getting into this like overtraining, under recovery, however you want to explain it thing. There are a few ways to kind of manage that and to work around that. But I think there's some things that we want to be aware of that we're going to see normally accompany that. One is going to be like a chronic fatigue. Right? You're just going to be tired all the time. You're not going to have the same energy. You're not going to move as much. You're not going to get the same intensity in workouts and stuff, that kind of stuff. Another one that's going to accompany that is probably going to be your training will suffer, right? Your performance will go down. Now, the chronic fatigue might be part of that. It might be fatigue in your CNS because you can't like do the movement right. But your performance normally suffers. Some of us will also see sleep getting worse, right? We won't get good quality sleep or we won't get a lot of sleep. We toss and turn, we wake up during the night, and we wake up, we don't feel refreshed and able. So sleep is another big part of that, and another thing that we can say, okay, maybe we're doing too much. Libido, oof, yes, that is a tough one. Libido can suffer, right? So that's another one. And then, you know, there's some other stuff there, but I think if we look at just those and say, okay, well, maybe these are a good place to start, and we see those starting, we're like, okay, well, how do we fix that? And there's a couple ways to fix it, and first and foremost I would say is look at your training, look at your activity, your cardio, and see how you manage that better. It might be that we're doing too much volume. It might be that our intensity is just trying to stay too high all the time. Maybe we need to undulate or change how we approach different training sessions throughout the week so that we can manage those and manage that recovery better. Maybe it means like we need to take a deload week or a week of less volume where maybe we cut reps, maybe we cut sets, maybe we cut the weight, right? Maybe we work out less days, those kind of things. And we allow the body to rest up and recover and recuperate. Maybe it's more food, maybe it's less cardio. There's a lot of different ways that we can approach this, but I think first and foremost comes with understanding those physiological symptoms and the kickback that we get when we kind of get into this position of it's maybe a little bit too much. And then how do we manage that? So when we're talking about the nutrition side of things, you know, that's where things maybe change and we have some more options there. Because for the training side, yeah, maybe we need to deload, maybe we need to change programming, back it off, change it, focus more on X, Y, or Z. Yeah, for sure. Maybe we need to drop the intensity on the cardio. Yup, that can happen. Maybe we need to drop the amount of the cardio. That can happen too. But we have things like diet breaks and refeeds that can also be super duper beneficial in helping to combat maybe some of that fatigue symptom, that buildup, that cortisol and stress response that we get from maybe just doing too much for too long. And so refeeds are structured days where you're going to have a higher carbohydrate intake to help kind of manage things. And yep, they can be super beneficial for your metabolism, they can be beneficial for your hormones, they can be beneficial for your recovery, and oftentimes I see people drop weight post-refeed. So that can be a way to help manage things as you go. And so maybe your nutrition is getting a bit more aggressive and that's how you know it's time to say, all right, cool. Maybe we add a refeed. Or if we're a little bit less comfortable, maybe we do a double refeed. We do some back-to-back days. And then they're maybe a little bit less aggressive on those numbers. All right, awesome. So you have those options there in terms of how to do that with a refeed. And then if you're really feeling rough and you're like hitting a wall and nothing's going, maybe a diet break is a great idea. Again, you can bring those carbohydrates up to refeed day numbers. You bring the cardio down, maybe half it, and give yourself a really good weekend and the ability to recover and to just kind of get back to baseline. Again, this can also help to extend the lifetime of a diet, can help us to see extra response in terms of dropping the stress and the cortisol response, and make sure that we're doing the right things to recover. And so I think when we look at how do we figure out if it's too much, we have a couple of ways to manage that. And depending on what your goal is, maybe it's a show and it's a hard date and we have to make it, we might have to utilize diet breaks, refeeds. We may not have as much choice as maybe somebody who says, you know what, I got 20 pounds off this diet. I can kind of take some time off. I can take a break for a while and I'll come back for the next 20 pounds. I just want to really focus on keeping this 20 pounds off right now, which is also a beautiful goal, by the way. So I think these are just some things you want to keep in mind, be aware of in terms of how you're feeling, what we call biofeedback. Really pay attention. How is sleep? How is your stress? How is your home life? How is your attitude? How is your performance? How is your libido? Your relationships with your significant others. How are those things looking? Because if they're looking significantly worse, which oftentimes they can do that when we're being very aggressive, it might make sense to take a step back, whether that means a refeed, whether that means a reverse, whether that means a diet break, changing things up, deloads, whatever it might be. So I hope this brings some light. If you're feeling rough, pay attention. It's not easy, but the real question is, does it have to be that hard?